I'm going to go ahead and go here now. And I'm going to mute you. Okay. So let's start lying down. Okay. Make sure you've got something to sit on a little later if you decide you want to be seated for your meditation. But to start, we're going to lie down. Okay. And we're going to bring our legs into a position called constructive resting pose. And so I want you to bend your knees and set them up in a comfortable position. They can be a little wider than the hips. That might feel nice. And then if it soothes the hips to bring the knees together and let the knees rest into one another, try that. Ideally, you want to be able to feel like you're doing the least amount of work in your lower back and in your hips here with the position of the legs. So feel free to adjust if you need to. And then allow your arms to rest in a comfortable position. You can experiment with rolling your palms open. Just allow your back to relax, your upper back, shoulders. And then we'll take a few moments now just to settle into our body, settle into our breathing. So I'd like you to take a moment to bring your attention to the places where you're touching the ground. Just notice all the places where your body is resting on the earth. Notice the way that your clothes feel on your body. Tuning into the temperature of the air and the way that feels on the skin of your face. And then start to notice your breathing, your beautiful breath, that essence of life. And as you tune into your breathing, I'd like you to follow your breath wherever it goes in your body. Notice where you feel the breath the most. Is it in the belly? Is it in the ribs, the heart? Is it in the shoulders, the neck? Maybe it's just right there on the upper lip, inside the nostrils. Just find that place where you are able to anchor your attention. And if you'd like, you can call that your primary anchor of attention, wherever you feel the breathing the most. Think of it as a place where you can return to steady the mind. And now we're going to bring a little bit of movement into our practice. So I want you to notice your fingers and toes and just give your fingers and toes a little bit of a wiggle. You can allow your eyes to open up now if you'd like. And if your knees are touching, you're going to separate the knees. And then walk the feet a little closer together so that they're about the distance of the hips. And then you're going to place your hands onto your belly center, right onto the belly. And we're going to do a stomach squeezing exercise. It's I just call them stomach squeezes. And before we do that, I want you to take one of your hands, or both if you'd like, and just slip them underneath your lower back so you can kind of feel how there's a tiny little space where your lower back is and the ground, like just like a tiny little space there. And so when you remove your hands, you might still be able to detect that. It's like there's that little bridge of the low back. And so you're going to be pushing that lower back down. So you're pushing it down into the mat, removing that little space when you squeeze your stomach muscles. Okay, so let's try that. We're going to take an inhale. You're going to breathe down into the belly. And then when you exhale, you're going to squeeze and you're going to push your low back down. So I almost feel like you're pushing your belly button into the mat. Okay, and then you can relax. Relax the belly muscles and relax the lower back. And then when you squeeze again, push your low back down and then hold for about 5 to 10 seconds. Okay, and you can let your breath do whatever it wants to do. You can breathe normally here. Okay, and then you can relax that. And then do that again, squeezing, pushing the low back down, and holding the squeeze for about 5 to 10 seconds. Okay, we're gonna do 10 total of these. So this is number 3 for me. Squeeze and press and hold. And then what you're tapping into is your front abdominal wall. So every time you squeeze, I want you to also think about your lower ribs and the 2 frontal hip bones at the top of your pelvis. When your lower back lengthens into the ground, those 4 points move towards one another. It's almost like you're trying to bring the top of your pelvis towards your lower ribs and your lower ribs towards the top of your pelvis. We're just doing some deep abdominal strengthening. And once you've done all your rounds, then you're going to relax and we're going to take this a step further. Okay, so now you're going to bring your hands to the tops of your thighs. And we're going to be lifting our head and our shoulders away from the ground and sliding our hands up towards our knees, creating that intentional stomach crunch again. Okay, so I want you to take a breath in with your head and your shoulders on the ground. And then as you exhale, lift your head and shoulders and slide your hands towards your knees. Okay, and again, think of front ribs towards pelvis. Okay, and then inhale and lower back down. Exhale, lift. And inhale, lower. Okay, so you've got 3 more of these. We're going to do 5 in the center, and then 5 to the right and 5 to the left. Okay. Now, if your head and neck start to bother you, you can always take a hand and place the hand behind the back of the head, just resting the head into the hand. Okay, so I think this is 5. So now I want you to take your left hand behind your head if it's not already there, and bring your right arm up into the air. Now we're going to go to the sides. We're going to be reaching towards the left side. Okay, so I want you to take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, lift and then reach towards the outside of your left ankle, outside of your left leg. Okay, and then lower back down. The right arm is up in the air. And then exhale and reach. Okay, so there's a little rotation that's happening. Now, every time you reach towards the outside of your left leg, I want you to think about lifting both shoulders away from the ground. The left shoulder is most likely not going to lift that much, not nearly as much as the right one, but that's okay. Just set that intention of potentially lifting it one day and reaching, because you're very strong. Okay, that was 5 for me on this side. So when you get to 5, then I want you to switch sides. Your right hand is resting behind the head, supporting the head, the left arm's in the air. And then you're gonna do 5 rotations to the right. And I want you to think more about quality of movement than quantity. Okay. Moving in a controlled way. So you're focusing more on just building that strength instead of trying to go as fast as you can. Good. And once you've done 5, and take your time, there's no rush. Once you've done 5, then you're going to bring your knees into your chest and you're just going to rock a little side to side and let your head and your neck relax for a moment. And now bring yourself to center, hold on to each knee separately, and you're going to circle the knees apart and then bring them back together. So a few little movements here, circling in one direction, and then you're going to circle in the other direction. Good. Good. And now go ahead and bring your feet back down to the ground. So we spent some time strengthening the front. Now we're going to strengthen the back of your body. We're going to strengthen your glutes, your hamstrings, and your back body. So bring your arms into that low V shape again. And your feet are set up for bridge pose. So they're as wide as the hips, maybe a little wider. Toes are pointing more or less straight forward. And I want you to remember that feeling of engaging the front of your body when you lift your hips away from the earth. It's very important that you squeeze your abdominals and then you lift. Okay, so take a nice deep breath in. And then as you exhale, lift your hips. Okay, feel the front of your abdominal area engaged. And then lower down. Exhale. Okay, and then go ahead and lift again. Now as you lift up, you're squeezing your buttocks and you're pushing down into your feet nice and evenly. And then lowering down with control. So you're going to do, let's do 10 of these. Okay, moving in a nice controlled way, moving with your breathing. Okay, and now you can lift. And when you get to your shoulder blades, that's as high as you need to go. You don't have to go into a full yogi bridge. And you can keep your shoulder blades apart. This movement here is really just for strengthening the legs, strengthening the buttocks, and strengthening the back. And allowing your attention to be on the sensations that you feel in the body, allowing your attention to be on your breathing, what you're experiencing. Now, when you get to your 10th bridge, I want you to hold. Okay, just holding bridge pose. And see if you can just stay here and breathe. Okay, staying with the pose, staying with the breath. Good. Take one more breath here. And then go ahead and lower all the way down. And just letting your hips relax on the earth now, letting your shoulders relax again. And just pausing, taking a pause for presence. And now I want you to take your feet a little wider than the hips. And we're just going to take some gentle twists. So you're going to bring your arms out to the side like a T. And then I want you to drop your knees to the right side. And then bring them back to center. And then drop them to the left side. So just a couple of gentle little twists. You can go back and forth a couple times here. Just releasing. Okay, and now go ahead and come on back to center. And you're going to walk your feet a little closer together. And then I want you to bring your right arm up alongside your ear. Okay, and you're going to roll to your right side. Okay. Now we're going to do a little bit of work for the outer hips. Okay, so these movements here, it's important that your hips feel stacked. A lot of times when we do these movements called clamshells and reverse clamshells, there's this tendency for the hips to roll back. I realize it might be kind of hard to see because I'm wearing all black. But if you let your top hip roll forward so that both your hips are stacked right on top of one another, that's a much better alignment for your lower back. Okay? And now from here, you can either keep your left hand on the floor in front of you like I have mine, just as a little extra support, or you can hold on to your hip as well. Okay, that might be a nice way to stay aware of if your hips roll back when you're starting to do this movement. Okay, so we're going to start with 5 clamshells, and then we're going to do 5 reverse clamshells. Okay, with the clamshells, we're going to keep our toes together and we're going to keep our feet on the ground. And we're going to lift the top knee up and then lower it back down. Okay, and so now remember, when you're doing this, it isn't about how much space you get in between the legs. It's about keeping that top hip steady. Okay, so this is 3, 4, remember to stay zipped up in the midline, so squeezing in the belly center, staying firm. And then 5. Good, and now for the reverse clams, we're gonna keep the knees together and we're gonna lift the top foot. So you're gonna lift and lower. And lift and lower. And you might really feel this now on that outer hip, those muscles that are right on the outside there, working hard. This is my 5th one here, and then we're gonna rest. Okay, so just taking a pause, nice deep breath in, and exhale. Okay, and now we're gonna do the other side. So I'm gonna turn myself around here so I can stay facing the computer. I'm using my left arm now as a little pillow and my right hand is on the floor here to support. I'm going to make sure that my top hip is rolling forward so that my top hip is stacked over my bottom hip. And we're going to start with the clamshells, just regular clamshells. So toes stay together and knees lift. You're going to do 5 of these. All right, so the amount that you do, right, the repetitions, 5 is a pretty good place to start just to kind of see how you go. But as you start to do these more, you'll get stronger, right? And so you can increase the repetitions to 10 and then to 15, and you might be able to get all the way up to 30 and just really work to strengthen those outer hips, which helps tremendously with some lower back discomfort. So after you've done 5 clamshells, then you're going to do 5 reverse clamshells. So that's the knees stay together and you lift the top foot. Okay, this is an internal rotation here. The regular clamshells are like an external rotation movement. Okay, so make sure your knees stay together and that you're just lifting the toes. Knees stay pinned together and you're just lifting the top foot. That's it. Good. Once you've done 5, maybe you've done more at this point, you're just gonna rest, take a couple of breaths, And then you're just gonna roll right onto your back again. Okay, coming right onto your back. And now I want you to bring your knees in towards your chest. Give them a little squeeze and gently rock side to side. Okay, and now from here, I want you to take your hands behind the backs of your legs. And we're gonna do a little stretch for the hamstrings. So I want you to take a nice full breath in. And as you exhale, you're gonna straighten your legs. Inhale, bend. And then exhale, straighten. Okay, let's do that a few times. Inhale, bend. And exhale, straighten. 2 more like that. And now the next time the legs are straight, I want you to just pause. Okay, keep the legs right up into the air. And then go ahead and roll your ankles a few times in one direction. And then the other. And then go ahead and point and flex the feet a few times. Good. And now I want you to bend your knees. Okay, you're going to place your feet on the floor for a moment. And you're going to take your hands now. We're going to come into a little alternate leg lift movement. It's a little bit more work to strengthen our abdominals. So I want you to take your hands and you're going to make this diamond shape with your fingers. Your 2 thumbs are touching, your 2 index fingers are touching. You're going to make that diamond shape underneath your pelvis. You're tucking your hands right underneath. And this just helps to support your back. Okay, and then you're going to bring your knees in towards your chest again. And now from here, remember that work of zipping up your midline. So you got to squeeze your belly muscles and then take the legs up into the air. Okay, and now keep your left leg up. I want you to take a nice full breath in. And as you exhale, you're going to lower just your right leg any amount that allows you to stay really strong in your midline. So you can go halfway or you can go all the way towards the earth. And then inhale and bring the right leg back up to meet the left. And then exhale, left leg now. Stay strong in your center. And then inhale up. Okay, so you're going to do 5 on each side. Allowing these movements to be as fluid as you can. The lower the leg is towards the earth, the more challenging it will be. If it's too much resistance in the lower back to have the leg straight, you can do this with the knees bent too, just tapping the toes to the earth. If this is the more appropriate place to be right now for experiencing too much resistance in the low back, it's causing pain, then we need to decrease the effort and slowly work our way up to something that's harder. And after you've done 5 on each side, you're going to rest, you're going to bring the knees in, and just gently rock side to side. Good. All right, so that was alternate leg lifts. So now we're going to take the left arm up, okay, or whichever arm is closest to your computer, and then just roll onto that side. So you're facing your computer or facing me. And then I want you to press up, okay, pressing on up, and then come into your hands and your knees. All right, so now bring yourself right onto your hands and your knees. I want you to place your hands right underneath your shoulders, knees right underneath your hips. And now we're going to move through some movements, some nice cat-cow movements. So on your next breath in, you're going to lift your head, lift your heart. And as you exhale, you're going to round. Push the earth away, drop the head, drop the tailbone. And inhale, lifting the head, lifting the heart. Exhaling as you round your spine. And let's do that a couple more times. Just moving with your breath. Moving in a way that feels good, feels authentic, and feels right for you today. And now come on back to center, okay, back to a neutral spine. And you're going to walk your hands forward a couple of inches in front of your shoulders. And from here, you're going to keep your hands glued, okay, glued to the earth, and let your hips move back towards your heels as if you're coming into a child's pose, except that your arms stay straight, your elbows stay straight, your hands stay glued. So you're creating a little bit of traction in the lower back. Now on your next exhale, you're going to come forward again, and you're going to shift forward so that your shoulders float over your wrists, your hips come forward of your knees, so you're moving towards a variation of plank pose, where we're not going to let the hips drop. We're going to find that feeling of zipped upness in our midline, and we're resisting the earth, we're pushing it away. Inhale and shift your hips back, extended child's pose. So you're finding traction again. Hands are glued, but you're reaching through your sit bones. And then exhale, come forward. Okay, hips come forward, don't let them drop towards the earth. Come into that variation of plank. Okay, let's do that 3 more times. Just moving back and forth with your breath. Getting some nice extension in your lower back. And still also working on building that strength that we need in our core to support our back. Okay, good. And now we're going to come into a forearm plank. Okay, and we're going to do forearm plank 3 times, and we're going to attempt to hold each one for 30 seconds. Okay? So I want you to do your best. So I want you to come on down to your forearms. Okay, your forearms, your elbows are underneath shoulders, maybe a little bit wider. And then one at a time, you're going to straighten your legs behind you. Okay, and now once you straighten your legs, try not to let your hips go up too high, and try not to let them sag towards the earth. You gotta lift them up so that you can feel that strong tone in your belly. Now you're pushing the earth away with those forearms so that your shoulders are not collapsing. Okay, you're about halfway through on this first one. You're doing great. Good, reach through your legs, keep breathing. Nice, okay, now make your way into a child's pose and rest for a moment. Okay, just resting, letting those hips go back towards the heels, letting your head relax, letting your arms relax, your elbows can bend now. Just breathe. Okay, so moving now into forearm plank number 2. You're going to come forward onto your forearms. Straighten your legs behind you. Now I find that if I take my feet wider than my hips, for some reason that feels a little easier than having the feet hip distance. You can explore that if you want to tonight. Okay, remember hips in line with shoulders. Not too high, not too low. You're about halfway through. Good. Keep reaching through those heels. Keep pushing the earth away and breathe. Doing great.
This is such a great pose for the whole body. Good. All right, now make your way into child's pose. Rest. Nice work. Good. Resting here. Just taking a moment. Breathing. Forearm plank. Kind of one of the more humble but very powerful and effective postures for strengthening the body. Okay, so when you're ready, make your way into your forearm plank again. And we're going to hold for 30 seconds. Good job. Keep going. Good, almost done. Nice work. Good job. Okay, resting now. Child's pose. Relaxing. Beautiful work. Good job. Okay. All right, now I want you to press up to tabletop and make your way into a downward facing dog. Just give yourself a nice little stretch here in down dog. Take those hips up and back. Good, feel free to pedal your feet, sinking one heel, bending the opposite knee. Just moving in any way here that would feel good, letting your head drop. Maybe nodding the head yes and no. Nice. Good. And now drop down to your knees. And I want you to find a comfortable seat. Okay, so have your blanket, perhaps, a folded blanket or a cushion nearby or underneath you. And I want you to take your seat sitting up nice and tall with the legs crossed. We're going to take a simple twist to the right. I want you to turn to the right. Relax your shoulders here. Take a couple breaths. And then go ahead and turn to the left. Simple twist. Relax your shoulders, soften your jaw. And then go ahead and come on back to center. Okay, and so we're going to move into our meditation now, our practice for observing the breath. We're going to stick with the same intention, same purpose from last week. Last week we observed our breath for 9 minutes, which was the approximate time that Mr. George Floyd was pinned down. And so I have been finding just tremendous value in repeating this and just doing this practice in honor of him and in honor of all the countless lives throughout history that have been lost due to racism. And so as a reminder, when we are observing the breath, we are not trying to change the breath at all. We're not controlling it. It's not a pranayama practice. We are simply just observing it as it is. And so often when we start to practice, our mind will wander. We'll have lots of thoughts. And that's okay. That's the nature of the mind. And so one tip that I like to offer when this happens, ask yourself, is the thought important? And the answer will either be yes or no. And if the thought is important, then just take note and say that you will come back to that thought at a later time. If it's not important, then just let it go as best you can. Okay, so I'm going to watch the time for us. Know that if at any time your back is bothering you and it would be more serviceable for your practice for you to just lie down, that's okay. It's totally fine. So, here we go. You can open up your eyes. And just take in a breath. I want you to feel free to take any kind of movement that would feel good right now. You kind of stretch. Maybe you want to fold over the legs and release the hips a little bit. Sometimes it can be nice to straighten the legs. Just stretch. Okay. And now we're going to come into our final meditation, our metta, loving kindness, and we'll do this one lying down. So I want you to take a moment to really nurture yourself, comfort yourself. If you happen to have a pillow or a bolster to put underneath the legs, that can be really, really supportive for your lower back when it's feeling particularly achy. Same goes for the neck, something comfortable for the neck. If you happen to have something to cover your eyes, that can also be very nice, just to allow your eyes to relax. Now I want you to take a nice deep breath in. Hold the breath when you get to the top. Just holding the breath. And then let it go. And let it go nice and slow so you can feel all the sensations of the breath leaving the body. Relax your eyes, your cheeks, your jaw. Relaxing your neck and shoulders now. And just letting that feeling of relaxation wash down your body. You know, our metta means loving kindness. It's rooted in the Buddhist traditions of mindfulness meditation. Metta also means compassion. One of the key core pieces of mindfulness meditation is the practice of compassion. And I find this to be a very meaningful and very useful practice because it encourages us to cultivate empathy, to connect to our abilities to empathize. And this really helps to close the gap between this idea that there is otherness and then us. There's us and the other. Empathizing helps to really close that gap so that we can see that on the inside, we're all made of the same. And then we can celebrate our differences and celebrate the diversity and the beauty that is diversity in this life that we live on this planet together. And traditionally, metta meditation starts with the self, but sometimes that can be very difficult to give ourselves loving kindness and compassion. And so the easier way is to start with somebody that you love dearly. So bring to mind somebody that you have a very easy time connecting to your feelings of love towards that person. And so bringing to mind an image of that person, seeing what they're wearing, expression on their face, and just taking a moment to send them love and kindness. Saying to yourself, may you be happy. May you be safe. May you be free from suffering. May you be protected. And as you send these very loving, thoughtful notions of compassion and love towards this person, know that this person feels the same about you. Seeing this person sending you love and kindness. Seeing this person wish that you are happy, that you are safe. This person wishes that you are free from suffering and pain too. They too wish for your health. They wish for you to feel joy. And now as your heart begins to open, I'll invite you to send some love and kindness and compassion towards yourself. Seeing yourself now, an image of yourself. And saying, now may I be happy. May I be safe. May I be free from suffering and pain. May I be protected. And now I'd like to invite you to expand a little bit. And send love and kindness to each other in our little virtual group this evening, our Candlelight yoga class. May we be happy. May we be safe. May we be free from suffering and pain. May we be protected. Now we might include those in our family, those we know that are dear to us, friends, colleagues, members of our community. We may expand our circle of love and kindness, allowing anyone else come to mind that you'd like to send love and kindness to. May they be happy. May they be healthy and safe. May they be free from suffering and pain too. May they be protected. And now let's invite one more expansion, expanding now to include all sentient beings. May we include all sentient beings, all people that we know and don't know, including strangers, including those who we may find difficult. When we encounter them, we may find it difficult to understand them or to accept them, or to even experience an unconditional feeling of love for. May we find it within ourselves somehow to include them too. May we expand our love and kindness to the plants, all the animals, the insects, oceans, forests, mountains, expanding our awareness to all those that call this earth home, and perhaps even beyond our own planet Earth into other galaxies, known and unknown. May we send feelings of love, kindness, and compassion and empathy to all sentient beings. May we be happy. May we be healthy and safe. May we be free from suffering and pain. May we be protected. Now, as you bring your meditation to a close, just place a hand or two over your heart, connecting to your heart center. And then start to move in any way that you'd like here. Just taking the arms up, stretching the legs again, deepening the breath. And as you move, just notice how you feel. Just taking note of how you feel physically, emotionally, mentally, and just holding space for whatever comes up, knowing that this too belongs. And then making your way to a comfortable seat where you'll join your palms together in Anjali Mudra. Anjali Mudra is a hand gesture. I believe Anjali means peace. So we'll close with peace in mind and a single Om. We'll chant the beautiful sacred sound Om. Let's take a nice deep breath in. Namaste.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for joining me this evening. It's just such a blessing to get to spend this hour with you in this way. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And can I ask you, can you tell me how to pronounce your name? I'm not sure if I've been saying it correctly.
My name?
Yes.
Jumana.
Jumana?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Many blessings to you both. Have a wonderful evening. I'll see you again really soon.
Bye.
Good night.